Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. All right, today's story comes from the shared laundry room of an apartment complex where one tenant kept finding her clothes mysteriously damp, or worse, moved. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Today, I became the defender of damp clothes. This happened a few years ago, but it still makes me laugh every time I think about it. I was living in an apartment complex with a shared laundry room, small and a bit run down, but functional. For the most part, everyone respected each other's laundry and space. Of course, you'd occasionally find that someone had removed your clothes if you left them too long, but nothing too egregious. One Saturday evening, I went down to retrieve my clothes from the dryer, only to find them damp, very damp. Initially, I thought the machines were just acting up again since they had a reputation for breaking down, but it kept happening. Week after week, I'd return to find my clothes either wet or moved to a different machine. My roommate thought I was imagining things because I can be forgetful sometimes, but I knew something fishy was going on. I decided to change up my routine and start doing laundry on Sundays instead, which seemed to solve the issue temporarily. But months later, I thought, why not go back to Saturday? Maybe it's just a coincidence. Big mistake. That Saturday, I walked into the laundry room and immediately noticed something odd. There was a young woman, mid-20s, very hippie chic vibes, washing her clothes in the sink. She had dreaded hair, unshaven armpits, and was using some all-natural organic products I'd never seen before. She was a whole aesthetic. I nodded a quick hello and threw my clothes into the washing machine. Nothing seemed off yet. When I returned to move my clothes to the dryer, I noticed she wasn't alone anymore. She was now chatting with a scraggly-looking guy who could have walked straight out of a post-apocalyptic movie. He had missing teeth, unkempt hair, and his clothes looked like they'd been through a blender. Their conversation came to an abrupt halt the moment I walked in. Weird vibes? Absolutely. But I brushed it off, thinking maybe it was just my appearance that threw them off. I was wearing a Quidditch robe, after all. It was laundry day, don't judge. Back in my apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That gut instinct you get when you know people are up to no good? Yeah, that was kicking in. So I headed back downstairs and stood outside the laundry room, peering in through the large window. And there she was. Hippie girl was nervously glancing around the room, then opened my dryer, yanked out my wet clothes, and started shoving her sopping wet laundry in. I couldn't believe it. My months of suspicion were finally validated. I didn't hesitate. I swung around the corner, flung open the door, and bellowed, "I caught you red-handed, mother effer!" She froze, her eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. For a second, I thought she might try to explain herself, but nope. She grabbed her bag and bolted past me, not saying a single word. I stood there, dumbfounded and amused. Then I spotted her wet clothes still sitting on the floor next to the dryer. That's when inspiration struck. I grabbed the entire soggy pile and carried it outside to the kids' jungle gym in the courtyard. With the flair of a medieval king throwing down a gauntlet, I dumped her clothes right into the sand pit. When I returned to my apartment, I couldn't stop laughing. The high from catching her in the act and delivering a bit of petty justice kept me buzzing for days. I never saw her again. Maybe she moved, or maybe she was just too embarrassed to use the laundry room again. Either way, my clothes stayed exactly where I left them from that point on. Lesson of the story: don't mess with someone's laundry unless you're ready to deal with the consequences. Shared laundry rooms really bring out the wildest behavior, and this story proves it. After months of suspecting something fishy with your damn clothes, you finally caught hippie girl red-handed swapping your laundry for hers. The confrontation? Iconic. The Quidditch robe? A bold choice. Her reaction? Priceless. And our second story. She did do what he asked her to do, technically. My dad frequently took my two older brothers, the only boys, out camping. He was former military and really into that kind of thing. Between scouts and at least 1 to 2 times a summer, it seemed they were frequently gone. So once my mom planned an at-home spa day for me and my 3 sisters. She worked full-time, but it was my dad's job that paid the bills. My mom was not a girly girl, but she was planning on going to the dollar store and spending $20 $4 each per person on nail polish, hair clips, and accessories for girls ranging from like 16 to 8-ish. My dad gave her a standard lecture about how they're broke and it wasn't needed, and we, the girls, didn't even like that kind of thing, although she had already told us and we were all looking forward to it. So like many things, Dad didn't see the need for it, so it didn't happen. But he would frequently spend over $50 each for snack and food for the boys each camping trip, in addition to taking them to a local buffet on their way home. All told, with site fees and gas, over $250 a trip. My mom wasn't having it this time when my dad had left her a note with the supplies he needed her to pick up for the trip. Typically, this wasn't a problem as she worked at a local school, so she got out by 3 or 4, and he had a 45-minute commute one way. But she wasn't excited to be spending money to allow my dad to spoil the boys after just getting a lecture on overspending just the night before. Now, she tried not to let the kids suffer from their fights, so she got their food with one malicious compliance. My dad had asked her to pick up 2 bags of marshmallows for s'mores, which she did. When he got to the campsite and unloaded the food, he noticed 2 half-size bags of mini marshmallows. And to make it more of a screw you, they were flavored and didn't work with s'mores. When my dad got back, he asked her about it, and she simply replied, they were cheaper and on sale. We never did get our spa day, but my dad was more open to the occasional splurge when he was out of town. He also cut back his own spending and only took the boys to the buffet on the way home if they were going to be late or coming from out of state. Edit. He wasn't doing this because the boys deserved spoiling and the girls didn't. He did it because scouts and it taught skills he thought they could use. As a former military man, he was into, this will help you later in life. My mom barely wore makeup, so it never occurred to him that this was a need versus desire. He didn't see how to justify the expense, and we were super poor. Not sexist, just the way his mind worked. Your dad's laser focus on practical skills and military-style reasoning clearly blinded him to what you and your sisters wanted or needed, even if it was something as simple as a $20 spa day. Meanwhile, camping trips for your brother were an unquestioned priority, snacks, buffets, and all. It's a bummer the spa day didn't happen, but it's nice to hear your dad softened up a little after this. Sometimes it takes a moment like this to see the bigger picture, and a bag of ill-suited mini marshmallows can clearly work wonders. And our last story. The pool that launched a backyard battle. When my husband and I moved into our current home, we were excited to make friends with our neighbors. Our backyard shared a fence with the back neighbor's yard, and at first everything seemed great. They were incredibly friendly. We'd have casual chats over the fence, share a laugh, and even invite each other over for dinner. It seemed like the perfect neighborly relationship. Both of us had pools in our backyards, which we maintained diligently. We'd even compare notes on cleaning and chemicals. It was all smooth sailing. Until the pool incident. One day, the entitled neighbor, Ian, casually mentioned to me that they were thinking about getting rid of their pool. Ian, we barely use it anymore, it's just sitting there, and the maintenance costs are through the roof. I nodded in agreement, saying that it made sense not to keep something so expensive if it wasn't being used, but then she dropped the bombshell. Ian, yeah, we'll just use your pool if it gets too hot anyway. I laughed at first, thinking it was one of her usual jokes, but her face stayed completely serious. Me, no, I don't think that'll work. Our pool isn't for anyone else to use, just family. Her demeanor changed instantly. Ian, raising her voice, are you kidding me? That's so selfish. You already pay to maintain the pool. What's the harm in letting us use it sometimes? It's not like it costs you anything extra. I was floored. She wasn't asking if they could use the pool. She was demanding access as if it were a community amenity. Me, look, if you want to swim, maybe keep your own pool. I'm not comfortable sharing mine. Her face turned red and she launched into a tirade about how I wasn't being a good neighbor and how I should share. She even accused me of being rude and ungrateful, claiming she had misjudged us as decent people. That conversation marked the beginning of what I now call the backyard war. Entitled neighbor made it her personal mission to make our lives miserable. First, she started subtly. When we'd be outside enjoying our pool, she'd yell over the fence, Ian, must be nice having a pool. Too bad some of us can't use one. She'd emphasize the some of us like it was a personal attack. Her comments got nastier over time. Ian, well, flaunting your money, huh? Guess we know who the greedy neighbors are. The fence between our properties became her new battleground. One day I noticed a section of it had been painted a strange color, like she'd splashed water mixed with dirt on it. I knew it wasn't accidental. When I approached her about it, she played innocent. Me, hey, did you notice the fence? It looks like something got spilled on it. Ian, shrugging, oh, weird. Maybe it's from all that splashing from your pool. Wouldn't be an issue if we were using it too. She'd also started painting bushes and vines that grew onto our side of the fence, clearly trying to encroach on our space. At one point, her kids even tossed pool toys into our yard deliberately, and when I returned them, she smugly said, Ian, well, if they're over there, might as well let the kids swim too. The breaking point came one summer afternoon. My husband and I were having a small barbecue by the pool. Suddenly, we heard a splash. We turned around to see Ian's kids in our pool. They'd climbed over the fence. I stormed outside. Me, what on earth are your kids doing in my pool? Ian, walking out casually. Oh, they're just cooling off. It's hot, you know. They'll only be a few minutes. Me, are you serious? This is trespassing. Ian, scoffing. Oh, calm down. It's just a pool. You're being dramatic. At that point, I told her she needed to get her kids out immediately or I'd call the police. She grabbed her kids, muttering something about how we were the worst neighbors in the world. Since then, the tension's been palpable. We put up higher fencing, but she still tries to make her presence known, whether it's loud music, passive-aggressive comments, or tossing trash near the fence line. It's ridiculous how one entitled demand turned a friendly relationship into a nightmare. But I learned an important lesson. Some people will take a mile if you give them an inch. And in this case, I'm holding the line firmly at my pool's edge. This is one of those stories that starts out so relatable, you think, oh, friendly neighbors, casual chats over the fence. This is going to be wholesome. Then, bam, it takes a nosedive into entitled neighbor territory. Seriously, how do people go from nice dinner invitations to trespassing on your property so quickly? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.